Hello everyone, my name is Abby Bliss White and welcome to my channel. Fall has arrived and it is time to pull out those warm, cozy cashmere sweaters and those gourmand fragrances. So I was asked if I would share my top 5 gourmand fragrances, and I have a beautiful lineup for you today. So gourmand fragrances are going to include the notes of things like honey and vanilla and chocolate and a little bit more edible notes. And then they're usually blended with a warmer base such as amber, patchouli, or musk. It is my favorite genre of perfumes. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about my current gourmand obsessions, then let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm a little bit excited about this video and I don't know exactly where to start, but I think we'll go ahead and start with my newest current obsession. And this is New York Fifth Avenue by Fragrance Du Bois. And as many of you know, if you've watched my channel, Fragrance Du Bois is one of my favorite niche fragrance brands. So when I first smelled this, I was like, wow, they completely captured the essence of New York City during the holidays. A flood of memories just came into my psyche. My sister went to college in New York City, so we spent many holidays visiting her, going to the Macy's Day Parade, spending Christmas there, and now my son Emmett lives in New York City, and we have traveled to visit him during the holidays as well. And when I smell this perfume, it completely transports me back to the streets of New York City during the holidays where it is decked out to the nines. It takes me to Rockefeller Center where there's people ice skating on the rinks, and there's vendors roasting nuts around the side, like fresh nuts that maybe are being swirled with some maple syrup. It just has the most cozy, wonderful feel to it. It's truly a brilliant composition of rose and caramel and violet notes, so there's definitely a little bit of floral in here as well. And then it's housed in a base of warm cashmere, Gaiac wood, a little bit of musk, and a touch of vanilla. And you guys, this fragrance has it all. This is a warm, woody, slightly sweet. It's got a little bit of spice in here as well, but not super spicy. It feels very rich and elegant. This totally takes you to the streets of Fifth Avenue. This is a snowy day, so you are wrapped up in your coat and your cozy scarf, and the doors open to the stores such as Bergdorf Goodman or Saks, and you get that waft of like fancy perfumes and leather goods and fancy garments, as well as the street smells of just vendors roasting nuts or making caramel corn. There is definitely a caramel note to this. I've just been obsessed with this. So this one dries down beautifully as well. So in the opening, it's going to open with bergamot and rose. So there is rose in here, but it is not super dominant. Then in the heart notes, you're going to get a little bit of sweetness as well as a little bit of spice. There is the notes of violets in here, caramel, and then cypriol. So it's going to give you a little sweet, floral, spicy vibe. And then in the base, you're going to get that lovely warmth from the cashmere wood, the Gaiac wood, as well as some musk, and then a slight touch of vanilla. So this is not going to be your vanilla or rose dominant fragrance. It's just a beautiful mix of gourmand notes. So this starts out with a very uplifting, almost effervescent feel to it, as if you're up getting ready to go shopping, and then the dry down of this really becomes an elegant, slightly sweet floral with a really nice warm woody base. I am just completely obsessed with this, and of course it brings back amazing memories for me. Reminds me of my son, and if you're someone who loves New York City during the holidays, then you are definitely going to love this Fragrance du Bois, New York 5th Avenue, because it completely captures that in a bottle. We're going to stick with Fragrance du Bois for a minute because I have another one of my favorites, and this is Minuit at Demi, and this is the Demi Rawling collaboration with Fragrance du Bois. I was so excited about this fragrance. I love Demi. She's amazing. And I knew that I would love this fragrance when she described it. So it was kind of a no-brainer because I loved Fragrance du Bois and loved Demi's recommendations, and the way that she described this gourmand fragrance was just right up my alley. So I bought this upon the original release, and now this is available at Lucky Scent, which I'm so excited about since it is more accessible. And you guys have heard me talk about this several different times, but this is your coffee dominant, baked good gourmand fragrance. I just love this fragrance. So I wear this fragrance year round, but this does give off vibes as if you are walking into a warm, cozy coffee shop. And it is a coffee shop that also sells like really nice pastries and goodies like that. And they are whipping up a caramel mocha latte, and you are going to be sitting down and enjoying that caramel mocha latte, and in the background someone is baking some like warm cinnamon, maybe scones or cinnamon buns. There's definitely this baked good element in here. You're not going to smell like a sugar cookie or anything like that, but it's just slightly in the background with a little bit of that cinnamon in there. This definitely has a beautiful vanilla note, but the coffee note really shines in here, and this is when I discovered that I really like that rich coffee note. I don't know if I had any other really dominant coffee fragrances, but I smell that coffee note. I definitely smell caramel. And to me, this is this warm, cozy latte, maybe with a little sprinkle of cocoa powder on top. So it's not super chocolatey, but I definitely feel a slight chocolate note in here. So this is edible gourmand goodness in a bottle. The top notes in here are warm cardamom that gives you that cozy feeling. It's a little bit spicy from pimento, but not overly spicy. It just gives a slight little kick, a little interest to it, and then opening of bergamot as well, which I always love because that's going to lift the heavier notes and give it a little bit of freshness. In the heart notes, you get notes of caramel and coffee. You definitely smell both of those. A little bit of sweetness, a little bit of richness, even a little bit of bitterness from the coffee. It's so good. Then in the base notes, you have that really quality Madagascar vanilla. You also get a hit of the cinnamon in there. There is some soft musk. There is sweet tobacco, bourbon leaves, as well as some woodiness from cedar and cashmere woods. Now this one is an intoxicating, slightly sexy, warm, cozy, gourmand, and it layers beautifully with New York 5th Avenue. And I did this by accident, but I was already wearing Minuit at Demi, wearing that, received New York 5th Avenue, and I layered it on top. And when I layered both of these, it just smelled positively scrumptious. I think it was because you're doubling up on the caramel note. The coffee brings in a little bit more richness, and then the 5th Avenue has a little bit more of the florals, so that kind of played in with that rose and the violet along with the coffee, the caramel, and then they both have some warm woods in the base, so it just made a beautiful combination. So not saying that you have to get both fragrances, just saying you can have fun and layer fragrances as well, and those two actually turned out quite beautifully together. So Minuit et Demi is a little bit more intoxicating and sexy, and I find New York 5th Avenue to be a bit more elegant and rich, and when I combined both of these together, it became a bit more playful and a bit more scrumptious. As far as wear times with these two fragrances, I am somebody that fragrance likes to linger on their skin, so I always am worried that I'm not the best indicator of the longevity of fragrances. I also do have a tip though. I am somebody who does the spray, a couple sprays in front of myself, and then I walk through. So I definitely get some of the fragrance on my clothes as well. So when I am smelling little wafts throughout the day, I'm assuming it's coming from my skin, but it also could be from what I'm wearing that day. So if you do have skin that eats up fragrances, that is something that I would recommend, is just to spray a little bit on your clothes because it will tend to stick to that and give you that full day experience that you may be craving. But speaking from my experience with these both are going to create that lovely bubble upon initial application of the fragrances. They both do dry down a bit softer, but both these fragrances lasted on my skin all day long, becoming a little bit softer, of course, after 8 hours plus, going to get that beautiful soft little hint. So that's what I would say as far as longevity. So two gourmand stunners from Fragrance du Bois is going to be New York Fifth Avenue as well as Minuit et Demi. Next up, I've got the classic 1270 from Frappan, and the Frappan family makes cognac. So as you can imagine, this is going to be your boozy gourmand. So for any of you who love those boozy gourmands, this is one to check out. 1270 is actually the year the Frappan family established itself in Cognac, France. So this fragrance was created by Beatrice Cointreau, who was the great-granddaughter of Pierre Frappan, and she wanted to create a very noble fragrance around the essence of making cognac. So you definitely need to love those boozy gourmand fragrances. This one made my eyeballs roll back in its head when I first smelled it. It smells like the holidays. This is resinous. It is rich. It smells like dried fruit and spices and cocoa and leather. It has a lot going on in it. It has this really beautiful sweetness like from honey. So definitely cognac, honey, rich ambery color. The color and the essence of this fragrance is mirrored perfectly from this bottle and design. This is a true masterpiece and it's been on my list to try forever. So I was a wee bit excited when I was gifted this beautiful fragrance. And I'm going to go ahead and read off the notes here because there is a lot going on in this fragrance. This has exotic woods, spice, raisin, vine flowers, pepper, candied orange, nut, hazelnut, prune, cocoa, coffee, leather, woods, white honey, and vanilla. So this one for me is truly holiday in a bottle. It is rich, resinous, velvety, smooth. It's got that boozy, spirited quality that you think about around the holidays. Everybody getting in the holiday cheer. Definitely has that vibe, but it also dries down to such a warm, cozy fragrance that it just puts a smile on your face. Now, this does sort of smell like traditional holiday fruit cake, and I don't want that to turn anybody off, even if you don't like to eat fruit cake, but you love the traditional element of a fruit cake around the holidays and the pretty jewel toned fruits. That is what this smells like. It smells rich, it smells luxurious, it smells boozy, and I cannot give this one enough kudos. Holiday in a bottle, totally appropriate as we are coming into the fall season. This is the kind of fragrance that you want to wear wearing your big cozy sweater around the fireplace, really enjoying the crackling of the fireplace. Maybe the snow is falling outside. Those are exactly the kind of vibes. This one's going to be a bit more fruity. It is complex, it is sophisticated, it is warm, it is inviting. It's a true masterpiece for a reason. So for all of my boozy, fruity, gourmand lovers out there, you are going to want to check out 1270 from Frappan. Okay, the last two gourmand fragrances I have to recommend to you are from another one of my favorite niche brands, and that is BDK Perfumes. So again, if you've watched my channel, you know that I have a lot of BDK fragrances. I just love so many of them. And I'm going to be sharing a powerhouse with you, as well as a little bit of a softer gourmand, in my personal opinion. So I'm going to start with the Tabac Rose. And if you are a chocolate lover and you also are a fan of a fruity, floral, amber scent, I think you're going to love Tabac Rose. So first, this is a very dense and potent fragrance. It is a tribute to the rose. And this is a very rich, opulent, and mysterious fragrance. If you are somebody who loves chocolate, and who doesn't, you are going to love this fragrance. So the dominant notes in here are plum and chocolate and rose. So I would describe this as a deep amber floral fragrance with a hit of dark chocolate. The top notes in here are plum, pink pepper, and Italian lemon. In the heart notes, you've got chocolate, Turkish rose, and cinnamon. And then in the base, you've got tobacco, Indonesian patchouli, and Spanish labdanum. This one has an opulent, addictive nature to it. I love that it focuses around that Turkish rose. I love that it's got this deep chocolate note in here. This one is jammy, it is chocolatey, it's got that dusting of cinnamon in it, as well as that deep earthiness from the patchouli and a little bit of that sweet tobacco. So this is a stunner. This one's definitely more potent. I love the dry down of this as well. So you are initially going to have that potent density when you first spray this on. This is an attention getter, but as this dries down and warms up on the skin, I find that the Turkish rose really shines. I still get that hint of plum, and I definitely smell that chocolate and tobacco. So this is a true deep, rich, opulent, dense elixir, and I just really have been enjoying Tabac Rose. And last but not least, we have BDK. This is Rouge Smoking. Now, I'm going to admit, when I first smelled this, I got a sample because this was all the rage on YouTube. Everybody was talking about it as the best gourmand they'd ever smelled, things like that. So I got a sample, and when I smelled it, it didn't do that much for me. I was like, it's nice, I like it, but I'm not sure about all the hype with this one. And as I have continued to wear this, I have fallen in love with this. This is a soft gourmand. So Rouge Smoking, in my eyes, would be for those that want to dip their toes into the gourmand land, but they might be a little bit scared by the boozy, resinous kind of gourmand fragrances. This is the sweetest of the pack. It has a strong cherry note in here. I would say it kind of has vibes of cherry vanilla Coke, but I say that in a complimentary way. And this one has a fizzy quality about it. I don't know, I keep on describing soda and pop, but it really does have a cherry vanilla Coke vibe to me that at first I was not certain I liked. But upon the dry down, if you are someone who enjoys powdery fragrances, if you are someone who loves vanilla fragrances, and you also love a touch of cherry in your fragrances, I think you might really love this Rouge Smoking. This one feels a bit younger, a bit playful, a bit giddy. I just love the play of the kind of fizzy opening down to the sweet powdery vanilla dry down. I kind of fell in love with this when I was doing a bunch of holiday baking, and I had put this on using a sample because I wasn't sure if I was going to need a full bottle of this. And I was baking in the kitchen. It was cooler outside, and it really just kind of took on a life of its own. It put a smile on my face. I loved the powdery vanilla cherry dry down of this, and this one's just a fun loving easy fragrance to wear. So the top notes in here are going to be cherry, pink pepper, and bergamot. In the heart notes, you're going to have beautiful vanilla, heliotrope, and orange blossom. So there is some light florals in this as well. And then in the base, you've got rich tonka bean, cashmere woods, white musk, lambdinum, abroxan, and a touch of violet. So I wanted to mention this one because I think it is a fantastic, soft, gourmand, easy way to tread into this genre. Now you can wear any of these fragrances year round. You get to do you. There's no rules with fragrances. That's the beauty of it. But I will say, of course, this one does shine when it is a little bit cooler. This is also a compliment getter. So that was another thing I noticed. This was one that my family really liked. I don't know if it's the sweetness or the powderiness, but in general, I've found that compliment getters are either freshies or more those sweet gourmands. Those tend to be the two biggest compliment getters if that is something that you are looking for. I like to enjoy fragrance just for myself, but of course it always is awesome to get a compliment that you smell amazing. Who doesn't like to hear that? So this one definitely needed a little shout out, and I'm glad that I gave it a second chance. So if you were like me and you smelled this and you weren't so hyped on it, sometimes when things are overhyped, it's good to go back once that's died down a bit and give it a second chance, because I'm glad I did, and I'm very happy that I have a full bottle of this. So those are my top 5 gourmand fragrances that I wanted to recommend to you. And I wanted to take a minute to thank Josie Plumey from Kintessence. Josie and I have been longtime friends. I met her in New York City at Oswald, New York City. You guys have heard me talk about Josie before, but she has taken a new job with Kintessence, which is a US exclusive distributor of niche brands such as the ones listed below. And we are so excited because we are going to be doing a live event. We're going to be talking about holiday fragrances. But in anticipation of our live together, she did graciously gift me Fragrance Du Bois, New York, Fifth Avenue, and the 1270 from Frappan, as well as the BDK Tabac Rose. She's been my fragrance guru for years, and so she knew that these ones were on my list. And all the fragrances that I mentioned today are going to be at my favorite retailers. Lucky Scent, of course. Twisted Lily, which of course I have a code for, Abby10. Also ZGO Perfumery, which is in San Francisco, which is another amazing resource, as well as Fumery here in Portland, Oregon, which is another one of my favorite places to go and play with fragrances. And I will leave all that information below in the description box in case you want to pick up any samples of my top 5 gourmand fragrances. I always recommend that people sample the fragrances before buying. I want to make sure that you love it just as much as I do, but these are definitely my current top 5 gourmand fragrances. So stay tuned. You'll have more information forthcoming about our live event. And as always, I love to hear what is your favorite gourmand fragrance. You guys know I'm always on the hunt for the next best thing. So go ahead and share that in the description box. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with another video soon.